EMP ending their fight, it is pretty hard to come back from.
Here for London. See DM up on the high ground though.
I don't want to fight this time. Graviton surges into the backline for the Shanghai Dragons, but a sound barrier keeps the Spitfire vital. Losing Fury early in the fight is still very bad. A huge source of their damage is off the table, and so was the Graviton surge for the Spitfire.
But London has to use their support ult so much earlier, Mitch, as Shanghai still has this sound barrier I was talking about, still with Transcendence. All they have to do is use the rally and the grab to take the point.
Nuss is in trouble here. He's just able to get away from DM, and the Dragons have hardly been stopped so far in this attacking round. Both support ults seems incredibly good, but the Spitfire can throw a spanner in the works in this next fight. Guard will have to get a large EMP. It's likely that we see Luffy try and play safe or hide away and hope that he doesn't get affected by it. You can see him there on the left side of your screen. No, he goes for a Transcendence before the Sombra drops in. Maybe it was his Spidey sense. Perhaps he saw the Sombra go for it. But the Shanghai Dragons will try and disengage with that one. The Spitfire won't give them the chance. The Dragons actually use a sound barrier here, even though they're losing players in this fight, and they got EMP'd. That's a curious decision.
Yeah, and you want to use it to keep some of these players up. Maybe you're just trying to keep the charge on DM.
Oh, that's a big shatter though. Nasty one laid down by Gesture there. Most of the Dragons are out to pick themselves back up, but now the Spitfire go for the Transcendence as they want to keep pushing, and they get Gamsu, which is definitely going to keep the Dragons quiet for the next few moments.
So DM still does hold some of this charge right now. Now him and Fury in the Zarya matchup. Fury right now with the average energy of 32 to DM 67. So double him up in terms of energy. That's going to swing the damage pretty heavily in DM's favor.
Graviton surge for the Spitfire. They preempt the Dragons' movements to start up a fight with that ultimate. It pays off quite nicely. They also throw the rally into the mix here, but Nuss is going to be close to a sound barrier for London, so they do have defensive options.
And this is where it gets scary, though, for the Dragons, because London on defense, when you start to get in a rhythm and cycling some of these ultimates, you can get a pretty big advantage. You have EMP now. Let's say you win this fight, EMP. That's the only thing you invest. You're going to get close to a shatter, close to another grab in the next fight, and then you just keep cycling these ultimates fight after fight.
Okay, Guard just settles for an EMP on towards Gamsu right now. Again, I mentioned it's hard to always get total coverage with that Sombra ultimate. Earthshatter to follow up here. It's like the Gesture was maybe hoping just for Gamsu to be EMP so he could shatter. Yeah, he wouldn't have had a shield. Didn't quite play out. So both of those ultimates that London have committed have done very little to slow the Dragons down. Now Shanghai want to get a bit aggressive and push forward. Sound barrier brought out. Ding overextending slightly there. Went for the EMP. It's a 2-for-2 trade in this fight. Make it 3-for-2. As Prophet is caught out by Gamsu. Fury needs to back away rather quickly here. And the Transcendence is very defensively employed by Bdosin. Oh, Coma was caught in the Graviton surge though. That one kill might have been enough for the Spitfire to slow the Dragons down. Fury's going to get pushed on though, and the bubble is not enough to keep him alive. DM deals with him, but the reinforcements have arrived for London, and the Dragons are dwindling on time bank.
Yeah, and I thought Nuss was going to be able to save Fury there as he comes in and tries to boot Gamsu out of the way. It'll be the Dragons using Rally, trying to engage. Rally use here from Prophet as well.
2 support ults for the Shanghai Dragons. They've got everything they need and more to end this fight, but Yongjin goes down early. Gamsu's knocked left out of the way, and he's taken down by Prophet. Now Guard gets to push ahead, and look at that meter down the bottom. He's charging up that EMP for another fight, and now that the payload has moved to a more open cul-de-sac area, much easier for Guard to get value out of that EMP and hit as many targets as possible, potentially shutting down the Dragons from being able to fight back. This is dangerous for Shanghai.
Still some fights here for the Dragons, though. With a minute and 40 on the clock, you're looking at potentially 3 fights. They just need to be careful not to, like, blow 2 support ultimates at the same time here.
Oh, there we go. It's going to be that 3-man EMP, and that's going to be enough for the Spitfire. They'll take that. It lets them, once again, preempt the Dragons' movement, do damage so they can accrue their own ultimates.
So, yeah, I mean, here's the problem for Shanghai. You lose that fight quick, cool, you go back to the respawn, you can get back another fight rather quickly, but that allows London to start building up some of these ultimates, and then you're lucky if you're the Dragons, you didn't invest like a sound barrier there, try and fight that. Grab here to Transcendence, yep.
The Dragons grab actually quite close to their own spawn, and it doesn't really give that much value. Prophet does go down. It was a Transcendence used by the Spitfire. Now London are going to be running away as fast as they can. They definitely lost that fight in a landslide. But because they fought so far forward, Matt, will they have time to get back to the payload?
Well, I don't. Now that Nuss drops, you don't have that speed boost to get anybody back. As Guard may be able to get a touch.
He does, he gets a touch and then he translocates out. Prophet's there, but he's so low on health. Quickly, the Spitfire managed to touch to the point, but that EMP is going to strip away all their defensive abilities. There's still a Graviton Surge used, which makes it harder for the Dragons to get the job done. The Ana switch here from Bdosin could have been impactful with that Bio-Nade, but he is shut down as well. Gamsu's just sleeping on the job. Taking Coma's title away from him, but it don't matter. The Dragons get home.
So Ding did a much better job connecting with those EMPs here. 16 enemies EMP there in the first half. Helps London complete the map. We'll come back with the second half right after this.
Back in we go after the Dragons did manage to finish the map on Kings are on the attacking side. However, 26 seconds left in their time bank after one run through might not be enough to get them all the way. By the way, Saturday night, next Saturday, tune in. Washington versus Paris. It's going to be quite the matchup there, and see if Paris can start to recover at the tail end of the season. Better watch us on Twitch, ESPN3 and Disney XD.
And try and see if Paris can potentially turn it around and make the stage 1 playoffs. Prophet most likely just selecting this Widowmaker, seeing if he can get a pick right off the rip here.
Say it ain't so. Stay on it. Oh, people are getting upset again, Matt. Oh, they're going to get sad. Prophet has a look. Doesn't find much there, and it is a switch over to the Brigitte. So Fury's playing the Zarya.
Oh, this isn't good for the Dragons. Ding gets hacked as he's going in.
And there's no way for him to get out. He wasn't able to use his translocator to escape because Guard hacked the hacker. Work that one out. Now the Spitfire can move on to the point. The Dragons have 5 players, yes, but not having the Sombra there means they have very little to take attention away from their front line and distract the Spitfire. So now they just have to move up, play aggressive. Ding has returned to the fray, so the Dragons have 6 players in the mix right now, but already 2 and a bit ticks having been gained. Gamsu going down, a main tank lost, but it's traded out on both sides here. The Dragons actually have a player advantage going into the second part of this fight. Guard is trying to harass and be a hornet in the side as much as he can, but with Fury going down, looks like the London Spitfire are actually going to get grounded.
Yes, Fury actually went up to the high ground, went on a little bit of a flank on Zarya to try and get an angle up in the top windows, and when Gamsu gets hacked, he jumps down from that position. They're able to deal with Gamsu, but not able to keep Gesture alive. The bubble's not there.
I mean, you always kind of feel foolish as Reinhardt when you're hacked. You can't put your shield up, so you have to get aggressive. But if you're standing a long way away from the enemy team, you can't even charge at them. You just look awkward.
Then you back up, you're in trouble. Big EMP.
But that EMP lights out for the Shanghai Dragons. Let's see, Ding just trying to back away. He will use his translocator. So does Guard. Pretty much goes up vertically here, and a Graviton Surge comes down. He's caught up in it. Fire Strike catches him out. Gesture going down as well, being sucked into the grab. And the Dragons have put up 2 very nice holds. And we are starting to see them accrue a nice bank of ultimate abilities to really give them extra staying power in these fights. But the Spitfire are pretty much generating their own, a little bit slower perhaps.
I mean, you did use your EMP at the beginning of the fight. The Dragons did invest their own Graviton Surge in Rally. The London Spitfire tried to use their own rally, trying to win it towards the end, but
ding.
he's getting very close.
He got
Numerous
stunned
times
there.
He's hacked again.
He's hacked again. Can't do much about it. You can see now that Ding does have EMP available. London can see that. Now that Ding's hacked, they can actually learn the status of his ultimate.
He's trying to set up an EMP here.
He's playing very clear. He's playing a very dangerous game. Oh, that's he gets hit by some stray fire and is revealed. Ding going down at the start of the fight. Gesture spots him out. It's a fire strike. Really singeing those permed tips. Now Luffy going to come in with a Transcendence, but it's a Graviton Surge thrown out by the Spitfire. Both teams, they reach for the sound barrier, but it's the Dragons that come out on top. Prophets gets caught out. Guard again, can't do too much in that high ground except try and get that EMP ready, which he does. But that's 3 fights all lost by the Spitfire.
And I tell you what, that's a huge adjustment there by the Dragons. They were trying to engage using the EMP, and Ding's translocator gets broken, and he's not able to translocate, so he doesn't want to use the ability. And then he gets so weak, and the Dragon's able to muscle back, still win the fight. Rally's open it up here.
Yeah, not very subtle. The Spitfire, they run headlong into this one. They spend the rally, they get EMP'd, and they get dumpstered.
They had to know that was coming. So they had to have an idea. You know, Ding, they saw the check mark over his head the last time. They knew he had EMP, didn't use it.
The question is, the Spitfire want to force the Dragons to use his ultimate abilities, but they have to kind of make it worth it. They have to entice the Dragons to invest. So they spend the rally.
Let's see how good the ult tracking is here from the Dragons. If they have an idea that they have Grav and there's no support ults on the other side, they need to use this Grav early. Try and get these kills. There's the Grav early.
Pack straight on into that EMP. Oh, that's nasty!
This is big, though. You allow your team to farm up some ultimates off of the back of that.
Guard has stayed on this Sombra pick. He doesn't want to switch off, which means that the Spitfire are actually running without a Diva right now. And Fury might have just picked that to deal with a Grav. He might switch
tried
back
to eat
Zaya.
it, yeah.
Well, he didn't eat it. I'll give you the big tip. So he switches back to Zaya now. He can accrue charge and get some damage set up before the fight starts. Oh, clever gesture. Turns the shield around, blocks his channel, gets one of his own Young Jin and Ding knocked to the ground, but he still goes down. Gesture was on an island. He was on his own trying to push forward, but now Fury comes back in on that wrecking ball. Bdosin giving a lot of healing, but so is Luffy. And Bdosin and Prophet are run down, ground into dust. Guard just has to abscond quickly, just getting out of there, and an EMP to make sure Fury can't turn into a ball and escape. What a staunch defense from the Dragons! And that's map 2 for Shanghai.
Shanghai used their ultimates perfectly there on the defensive end. And a few times they overextended, but a really nice adjustment to tie this series up.
They definitely exposed some of the weaknesses in the Spitfire strategy. They're forced to go with a Zarya strategy, just an even Graviton Surge. That ain't it, Chief. We'll be back after the halftime show.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered. And by State Farm. Whatever life brings your way, State Farm is here to help life go right. thoughts at all? All right, well, I am. The Dragons are looking to point spoiler to the London Spitfire's playoff hopes. They have things all tied up at 1 apiece. Welcome back, everybody. It's Puckett. We are live in the Blizzard Arena, and we are still having fun. You guys enjoying the match? Yes, great game so far, and honestly, I did not expect to see Shanghai bounce back after they lost to Dallas.
I did.
They come in today, and they make it 1-1. Bren, you called it on the pre-show.
I predicted it. I gave good, valid reasons in the pre-show. You know, I won't accept anyone who says otherwise.
I think your argumentation could have,
Yeah, the presentation.
there should have been more.
Sure.
Matt crushed him in the face-off, but we'll say Bren won anyway. But Bren, we got to start here with the Spaceman.
Oh, yeah.
We all know about Winston and how he grew up on the moon.
Sure.
Today,
Yeah.
he's in the hands of Gesture, and he is definitely living up to his name.
That's right. I've got an Insights powered by Intel for us today, and it's basically breaking down how Gesture is able to win these fights without even getting a single kill, just from his sheer positioning. Super cool little play from him. So the first thing I want to point your attention to, nice and easy, big round circle around Gesture here on the Winston. He likes to play sneaky, likes to play round the corners and try and tickle the backline a little bit with his laser gun. Pretty simple so far. So Shanghai are going to try and essentially take a fight into them, and at the same time, you can see Gesture here. He's going to ignore them, jump into the backline immediately, and he's going to be taking up complete positioning with the supports. Koma's out of the fight at the same time as well. On the opposite side, the Zenyatta's out of the fight. They've got no Discord Orb, no healing, and Shanghai are still taking this fight. Despite that, London now going to be battering them. And you notice the tanks as well. You look at that health pool right up there. The tanks are getting decimated here, absolutely destroyed because of Gesture's positioning. He doesn't get the kill on the supports. He doesn't need to, though, because he's so good. He just took them out of the fight, and at the end of the day, that is just as good as a kill when it comes to these team fights, and that's how he ends up winning the match for them, at least on map 1. So, very good plays by Gesture. Winston, he's fantastic at all around, but the issues lie when he switches over to the Reinhardt, as we saw in map 2.
Ouch. All right, so the Spaceman making space on map 1, but let's talk about this map too, Zoe, because we all highlighted it. You heard the casters talking about it. We're going to see some sweet Sombras on both sides. We have Guard for the Spitfire, and then on the other side, we have Ding popping off once again for the Shanghai Dragons after a rough previous match.
Yeah, I think in the very first round, both Sombras had some highlights and some lowlights also. We saw a lot of great EMPs coming out from both sides, Ding as well as Guard. However, Ding did end up having the upper hand in that Sombra battle. He did manage to actually initiate a lot of great fights with his EMP, and his team was just right on it. The communication was on point, and they followed up right as they should.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, Zoe, honestly. And I think that the biggest thing as well is you can clearly see that Ding has learned from their previous match. He kind of got shut down on the Sombra in the previous game. So they've definitely shaped up a lot of these mistakes. And Guard, I mean, the guy's no slouch. I think he's one of the best Sombras in the league. And to go toe-to-toe with him is no easy feat. So, you know, kudos to Shanghai, actually, there.
Definitely a battle I want to see continue in the second half. Another one we're looking forward to is how is Gesture, that guy we talked about from game 1, going to match up against Gamsu, who really showed up big in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, Gesture was the dominating force in the first map. However, on the second, this was all on Gamsu. He played absolutely stellar. He had so many great moments with his Reinhardt play there. A lot of great shatter, which actually saved the entirety of the team twice. Not once, but twice. So he was one of the main reasons the Shanghai Dragons actually were able to pull off this victory.
Yeah, and I got to say as well, you know, we often say and talk about Gesture's Reinhardt in general. There's a narrative building that he's kind of like a weak player on the Reinhardt. I don't think he's the worst player in the world when it comes to that role, but it's definitely not his most comfortable main tank. And Gamsu, really, it is, I think, one of his strongest ones as well, even when he was on the Boston Uprising. So we're seeing some
Since yesterday, we know how important Firestrike kills are, right?
What
That
Have Johnny pointed that one out. Yeah, so, and then you can see in the statistically here, I got to point your attention as well to the deaths. Almost half as many when it comes to the 9 deaths to the 15 on Gesture. More time alive, that's more damage blocked. It's going to mean more Earthshatter as well at the end of the day. So really well played by Gamsu, playing around with the rest of his team all around in that map too.
All right, so we have 2 more games to go.
Where did you get
It's
that?
tied up right now. We have an
looked away
awesome
and it was
Shanghai
there.
fan over here. Love you, bud. He's rocking some wings out yesterday. Today, he's back in red. I'm rocking his hat right now. How does the second half play out? Is it a 3-1 for Shanghai, or do we go to a game 5, Brent?
I genuinely think this is going to be going to a game 5. Honestly, I think it's going to be going the distance. I'm still going to stick with my Shanghai Dragons. They're mine now. They're mine. So
Okay, just claiming the entirety of the Shanghai Dragons. All right. So, you know what? I'm going to claim London then. Yeah, take it away from you. Why not?
Taking my city.
It's fine. I'm fine with this. No, I think that London will manage to, you know, smooth out the little Kings say hard.
Sure.
Yeah,
They
they're
come back.
just going to ignore what happened on Kings Row. Go
Exactly,
back
that
to what
never
happened on
happened.
Nepal. That's the game plan. Guys, that's going to do it for our halftime. But we want to mention there's an important hero we expect to see in the second half. Reinhardt has become one of the most important heroes of all time in the 3-3 meta. So we sat down with 3 of the best main tanks in the league, including Gesture from the London Spitfire, to give you some tips on how you can help charge your team to victory at home. This is My Hero, presented by Intel.
좋은 메인 탱커의 역할은 우리 조합과 상대 조합을 비교해 봤을 때 무슨 플레이를 해야 될지 정확히 파악을 하고 있어야 되고, 제가 하는 라인하르트 플레이는 이제 행동을 취할 때 이유가 있어야 하잖아요. 그러면 배지 분쇄를 효율적으로 쓴다고 하면 보통은 이제 뭐 상대 라인하르트 뒤로 가서 뭐 다 눕힌다던가 그런 걸 생각할 수도 있는데, 일반적으로 그런 거를 그렇게 이제 잘하는 레벨에 올라가면 당하는 사람들은 많이 없고, 그냥 이제 상대 궁을 카운터 치는 용도가 제일 효율적인 것 같아요. 뭐
가장 좋아하는 스킬은 이제 아무래도 돌진. 왜냐면 이제 다른 스킬 같은 경우는 제가 잘 써야 되는 경우인데, 돌진 같은 경우는 그냥 쓰다 보면은 그렇게 잘하지 마세요. 그럼 이제 그때 기분이 있어. 가장 기본이 되는 건 이제 멀리 쓰지 않는 거. 그러니까 쓰는 것까지는 문제가 없는데, 이제 썼을 때 본대랑 거리가 멀어지는 순간 우리 본대가 터져버리니까 최대한 이제 본대 기점으로 가까운 벽에다가 쓰는 게 효율이 좋아요. 안 맞더라도 바로바로 백업이 올 수 있어요.
My favorite part of Reinhardt's kit is actually Fire Strike. I think it's a really fun ability to use, and it's a super short cooldown, and it's actually like a pretty fast-moving projectile. A terrible way to use Fire Strike is using it off cooldown and just using it the second it comes off cooldown, because it's so predictable when they're going to do it. I've seen like Reinhardts who just Fire Strike off cooldown, who just like get hooked as soon as they Fire Strike.
뭐 저도 많이 하는 실수긴 한데, 이제 긴 돌진은 쓰지 마시고, 그리고 상대 원거리 캐릭터 딜 각을 맞춰서 실드를 피시고, 그리고 너무 스윙을 많이 하지 마세요.
Shanghai Dragons have already equaled their map score record against the Spitfire in the previous season, but this season in 2019, they're looking for a heck of a lot more, man.
Throw out all the old Dragons records, man. They're no good. It's not the same team. It's a completely different team.
Okay, it's not complete. It's almost completely different team.
Yes, but I mean, for the sake of, like, they're pretty much an expansion team with how they've kind of retooled the whole roster to come back in, look much better than last year, obviously.
That's right, completely retooled. Now, obviously, with 2 wins under their belt, they were probably hoping for a playoff spot. That's off the table for them at this stage, but they could play spoiler still to the London Spitfire. And honestly, they're kind of poised to do that. We thought the Spitfire were just running all cylinders prior, but they're looking a little bit average today. Here's a comparison between our Zens from the previous map.
And I love he played really good. He played great in the Dallas series. I thought if you were to take one bright spot from the Dragons, it was really his flex support Zenyatta play. And you see going up against Bdosin, one of the better Zenyatta's in the league, less more damage amplified. That's all the damage going down with the Discord. And then the barrier damage done. So that's a lot of damage in favor of Luffy helping break the shield there of Gesture.
I want him to come to the arena wearing like a straw hat. That's going to make me really happy. One thing to notice as well, that I think barrier damage done is actually really interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because it's not something to think about, but y'all had to shoot them shields. You can't just wait for someone else to shoot the shields for you. You all need to do it. Also, damage amplified depends on how much damage that your teammates are doing. So we have a substitution here. It is Guardian coming in for Ding. Here's a fun fact about Guardian. He actually originates from the same team as Gregory, Rox Orcus. I don't think they played at the same time, but Guardian's played on teams with Bunny from the Valiant, before Lunatic High's sort of second team, and he got moved up there. So, and then Toronto Esports as well.
And he'll come in and play the Diva role here on Temple of Anubis. Also, that barrier damage, that also tells you is how Reinhardt's actually managed their shields, right? If you have it up all the time, the other Zen's going to be able to burn it down with some more damage, right? End up breaking it. It's all about shield management, juggling those corners, and knowing when you can get your shield recharged.
When can you allow yourself as Reinhardt to take damage? When can you trust that your Xayah is going to bubble you, and then you want to take damage? And then you really need to know when you need to use the shield to allow your team to move up under heavy fire.
You should pay attention to that, because you're pretty weak in terms of that regard as main tank.
So, the Dragons are on the attack now. And they will have Yongjin on that Brigitte to start things off. They do have the Reinhardt-based composition, so again, this could make them a little bit vulnerable to the higher mobility that the Spitfire have because they have the Winston here.
It does allow them, though, to not have to make changes if they do take point A, where London would have to swap Gesture from Winston to Reinhardt, reset that ultimate economy.
You don't want to do that.
Gain a little bit of an advantage there if you're the Dragons.
Oh, I think he got stunned. Gesture got stunned briefly by Yongjin, so we took a heck of a lot of damage before he could even jump away from that fight. The Dragons get onto the point, but Luffy gets picked off across the map by Bdosin. Finally getting a little bit of revenge. Maybe he saw the stat card comparison that we made. But the Spitfire now are doing a good job of working down these Dragons players as they did kind of split themselves up a little bit.
And that's where, when you have one of these top flex supports in the league, it makes a big difference. The tick going down on the point is just Guardian, who's outside of the Diva mech, just trying to keep him alive. Yep.
Oh,
He's gonna die here.
He's
eventually.
not getting away, guys. It is not. It's like a horror movie, right? It just is like they're about to get away. It's like they face a very grisly end.
So when you do have one of those top flex supports in a fight that it doesn't look like it's going to go in London's favor, what turns the tide? It's Bdosin getting that early pickoff. Because Gesture was really low, and it didn't seem like they had the repair pack available from Brigitte right away to heal him up. They had to wait a little bit. But the Dragons could have made some more progress on the point.
Speaking of which, you just heard the repair pack being distributed there by Yongjin. So, he doesn't have that all the time. And it's the only form, like we talk about this all the time, the only form of burst healing that this composition actually has available to it. Both Zenyatta and Lucio heal over time, and it's quite gradual. Unless the Zen is using Transcendence, and then it feels like burst healing, but it still isn't.
Another high ground push here from the Dragons.
Now, they don't split themselves this time. They're all together. Gamsu drops first, just to contest the point, forcing the Spitfire to come challenge. Yongjin stayed on the high ground, but he's not vulnerable because he can just shield bash Gesture when he tries to accost him. Oh, Luffy, though, he could be in trouble. Yeah, Fury just weasels his way into the back line, catches Luffy out. Again, he's the first casualty in this fight. And now, in the absence of an opposition Zenyatta, Bdosin goes for the Transcendence. A lot of healing for the Spitfire, and they don't have to worry about taking some pot shots here and there because they're just going to be topped up.
You end up using your Graviton Surge there for the Dragons and get the opposing team to use your Transcendence in Primal Rage. So you come back, you have that, you have the Self-Destruct, you have Shatter, you have Rally, you have all three support ultimates here for the Dragons. We'll see how London plays with this. They if you can land like a big bomb plus grab combo, get them to use a support ult or two, it'd be a huge win for London.
Jesse will wait in the corner there and tickle. He can drop down, and then he'll have his jump available to get out of trouble if he needs to. But you see, Nas has helped force the Dragons off the bridge. So now the Dragons have to go the long way around, Matt.
And this is the third time going up to the high ground, and Luffy has died all 3 times right away. So we'll see if the Dragons do a better job keeping him alive.
Ooh, sound barrier there being used.
Really early?
Yeah, perhaps.
Not
Perhaps the
intended.
Spitfire expected the Dragons not to go out to the high ground and to sort of fight them again. I wonder what the thinking is behind that. Let's see. Fury's going to be looking for Luffy in this fight, but more importantly, Gesture maintaining some presence on the point. Oh, Guardian took a lot of damage. He's going to go for the self-destruct to refresh his mech and try and climb back into it. There was no combo there from Gesture, or there was no one knocking Gamsu out of the way, so that self-destruct from both sides didn't really have any effect. Bit of a reset in a sense, but now the Dragons are sort of being bundled up together. Now, this is the way they like to play, but they're not on the point. And Gamsu going down after Luffy, who again was the first casualty in this fight, again means it's curtains for the Dragons.
But this is the same thing that hurt the Dragons against the Dallas Fuel the other day. Different map, different game type, but on Hollywood, they kept approaching the cart and the objective in the same way. Dallas realized it stopped them, and the Dragons, every push, they would go to the high ground, and it would result in the same exact thing. London holds on D.
Looks like the only thing Guardian's protecting is a Violent Tears. That was not what the Dragons were looking for. The Spitfire now a very clear and obvious path to take this map 3 away. All they need to do is capture that first point and get one tick on it. Easy stuff for the Spitfire. Let's see if they can conquer this hurdle. Reasons why the Dragons have amassed so many fans is because it's fun. It's exciting. It's like being on a roller coaster. They go from a spectacular full hold on King's Row to a disastrous, I guess, just stumping on the attack here. Bear in mind, they didn't kill anyone on the Spitfire. Yeah. They're pacifists. That's why this is not Civilization 6. You don't get a diplomatic victory to win the game. You actually have to fight them.
You know what? They had to have to talk about it as London still messing with their comp in the spawn here. It'll be the Dragons running the Winston 3-3 on D. Reinhardt version of the 3-3 here for the London Spitfire on offense.
But the Dragons are sending out their emissaries now. They're trying to get that peace deal linked up, and the Spitfire having none of it. Not like the Mongols, mate. They're charging. Ain't having it.
So, you know, the Dragons there on offense, they took the same route 4 times, didn't work the same way pretty much 4 times. As London... Let's see if they decide to wrap back around. So this is what I think that London thought that the Dragons are going to do. Come up top here, fake it, come back around. That's why you maybe saw that earlier sound barrier.
So they get Fury and a couple players to pick out here, but they're not all together. Look at this. It's like a pizza. They're bringing it onto the middle of the map. They have 3 players on the low ground, 3 on the high, and Youngjin, Koma not looking great either.
They've split Luffy up, so Luffy is actually stuck here behind, and I think London
does he know? You can see him just in the corner. Oh, Nuss found him. Oh, dear. But see, a quick move like that with the use of the Lucio speed boost can really put the enemy team's players, especially immobile ones like Zenyatta, in a really compromising position. Now with their first kill, all the Spitfire have to do is capture 52.5% of the point, and this is pretty much over right here and now. I'm not going to suspend disbelief any longer. DM playing from the higher ground is very charged up, but very limited. Look, he doesn't have much range. He's trying to lob those right-click, those balls of charged particles. Now he needs to start fighting, but he might get taken out pretty quickly. That just hurts so bad. Fury eats up his grab. The only chance DM had to redeem his team goes straight down the gurgler. And the London Spitfire take map number 3 away. Real quick.
Dominance there from London. don't have anybody die on the entire map there of Anubis.
Perfect map. Clean sheet. Good lord. While the Dragons are still in it, they still have a chance to win a map and take it to map 5 after the break.
The Overwatch League is brought to you by T-Mobile. High ground or low ground, T-Mobile has you covered.
You know the Spitfires are out there breaking the speed barrier, but these guys are cruising through these
That was
like
quick.
Mark 4 or something. It's like re-entry velocity. It's very fast. The Spitfire didn't have a chance to really rectify some of the mistakes. But you were kind of frustrated, Matt, between the first and second halves of that Anubis map. You said there's a chance to change things up here for the Dragons.
Yeah, I
was
mean,
there really though?
Well, I think on the Dragons' offense, like you cannot get that predictable. At this level of play, you can't come in and take the same route 3 straight times, especially when it doesn't work pretty convincingly the first 2.
Wasn't that something that we aimed at the
Yes.
Dragons off their last match?
Yeah, in the Dallas Fuel match. They
So what is
would
it-
take every fight the same way.
So what, do you feel like that there's maybe like a lack of creativity in some of these strategies?
A little variation, but I think it also determines of who is the in-game shot caller. You have to have a good feel of the game, vibe of the game to understand hey, the route that we're taking, they're very good at defending against. Let's try and do something a little bit different. Let's go a different route. They never adjust.
Well, let's have a look at a bit of a statistic for you all at home to sink your teeth into. So here's the top final blows per 10 minutes in team fights this season. A lot of these players are Zarya players. DM obviously is. Fury, though,
Just about every one outside of Zephyr and Fury.
yeah, Fury is a D.Va player primarily. We do see him play the Zarya sometimes when they have a certain setup. Maybe if they're running the Sombra here. We saw him play a bit of Zarya sort of in the past, but
I mean, seeing Diem, tied with the likes of Summon Su and right behind Carpe, pretty strong players to
Right.
same company with.
he's pumping out damage. There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's definitely one of the things that you need. You need your Zarya to be fighting on all cylinders. I think we've seen previous matches where we've sort of said this Zarya is not performing and it hurts their team. Here's the sub. So Ding comes back in, Guardian heads on out, and this screams to me, Sombra.
Yeah, it's a Guardian. We saw him in the Dallas Fuel match for map 3. This series, we see him in map number 3. He now goes back to the bench as Ding comes in for the 4th and potentially final map of the series. I think maybe Guardian's a player they look to use more in the future and towards the end here of Stage 1, try and incorporate him in.
Now, let's talk about Ding a little bit now that he's come in. We've seen him really predominantly play the Zarya, but we know he has a few picks up his sleeve. Do you really expect him to go for anything out of the ordinary here? I know his Pharaoh is supposed to be quite spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, I think here, you're just going to see Ding come in, play Sombra, Diem. I think will just continue to play. That's usually what their substitution means. I mean, the Dragons really don't really veer from this type of setup. When Ding is not in, and you see whether it's Guardian or Geggery in, they'll play triple tank, triple support, traditional with the D.Va, but otherwise he only plays the Sombra.
Make no mistake, this map is very important for the Dragons, and a win here will take the series to map 5 and give themselves a chance here. So there's unlikely they're going to be messing around with off-the-wall picks and general tomfoolery.
And with Escort, especially here on Route 66, We see teams on the defense play up near the payload, do not let any progress being made by the offensive team right away. Maybe you get a first fight here. If it doesn't work in your favor, you can get another fight before they take point A.
Yongjin was just looking for a sleep dart here, very much a pot shot. If he catches someone with it, the Dragons pounce on them. If not, he switches back to Brigitte. Mirrored compositions here. And
They're going to swap sides.
I like this. This rotation here we see from attacking teams when defenders hold the payload very close to the attacker spawn. So they try and put the defenders in a position where they have to engage. This is a better way of doing it. Ding was trying to go head-to-head with Bdosin there. Looked like he was about to come off second best. But he's in a great spot to get easy damage. So DM deals with Gesture. So far, so good for the Shanghai Dragons here. This is about as good as you can hope for. It's okay for them to lose a player here or there because their spawn is right behind them.
They do win that fight pretty convincingly, though, as Nuss, the only survivor for London, backs all the way out. Going to use that speed boost to bring everybody back as fast as possible. They'll probably make it to that, big kind of final turn here by Big Earls as you get close to the first checkpoint, which is at the big door you saw from the top down.
Ding and guard, both. Ooh, Ding gets caught out. That's not ideal. The Dragons were really hoping to use him as, one half of their pincer maneuver. Getting to the back line, getting free and easy damage, and getting an EMP. Ultimately now, he'll have to take a back seat and wait. We'll see an attempt from Gamsu to try and tip the scales with an Earth Shatter, and it might have just paid off here. Guard has to back one on out. Prophet and Jest haven't gone down with Fury behind. Gamsu just saved the Dragons, who are in quite the bind prior.
It's huge there. I know you're not going to be able to win these fights consistently when you lose that Sombra early. It's just so important when you're playing around the hero. But Gamsu there comes up with a big Earth Shatter. They pick up 2 kills on the back of the Shatter. Youngjin with the rally, and they're able to push on through.
Damn, I mean, we talked about the Dragons being pacifists before. That's about one of the easiest won first points that I've seen. Earth Shatter. Win the fight, push on.
Both of these Sombras are right on top of each other. I have no idea.
They don't know. Now, they will hear voice lines if you play voice lines to Sombra, your opponents can hear you.
And maybe we see Gamsu just play out in front here, moving the cart, because you want to try and bait them into using this solo EMP.
It's going to be a messy fight. There'll be 2 EMPs potentially involved here, providing one of the Sombras doesn't get hacked themselves. Oh, well, Guard's not EMPing anytime soon, but still Bdosin gets the Transcendence. That's a very good result for the Spitfire, but need to convert that into a win to keep this push stopped. It ain't going to happen, though. The Dragons, talk about a head of steam. Now they're breathing fire on top. Yeah. Spitfire should be wary.
Yeah, and Ding doesn't realize it, but he actually has Guard directly above him when he uses the EMP, and he connects with Guard, so Guard not able to come back, follow up.
Just a shot in the dark. It's like playing Battleship, isn't it?
Yeah, with an EMP of his own. So now London, though, they're stuck with some ultimates here in this next fight. Sound Barrier, EMP, Rally, Grab. You take a look at the top of your screen and the Dragons, they really have nothing, just a Sound Barrier to work with.
In for a penny, in for a pound for the Spitfire. Here we go. EMP first used before the Sound Barrier, so the Dragons can still get the defensive nature of that applied to them, but honestly, the Spitfire are happy with that one.
And I think Koma probably would like to have the Sound Barrier back. Gamsu and Youngjin are so far away when they use the Sound Barrier that you're not able to keep either of them alive. And you don't want to use the Sound Barrier before the EMP because it rips all those shields right off.
That's right. So it's got to be after, but you still needed to connect with all 6 players to really feel its impact, and not getting it on your tanks feels bad.
The cart's moving.
Yep, slowly,
cart's
surely. There is a back cap underway right now. The Dragons,
they have not a clue.
Getting this one on. The Spitfire have no idea. They're not even looking at the top of their screens. Ding's got to get there. Oh, no! Oh, the Spitfire! Oh, God. Yeah.
And I'm trying to just whisper it, right? Like, get everybody here going nuts, just letting it go. But, man, that was a huge one.
They were loving it. They're like, we're out here playing Overwatch. And the whole time, Ding was sat on the payload dutifully.
The worst part is London. They use their grab, their shatter. They're picking up all the kills. They're like, it's a great fight, guys. And they just go back.
Honestly, you are so angry right now if you're the Spitfire. You are furious. Yeah. But how are they going to bring this map back under their control? They've lost so much time. Or at least they've been pushed in so damn quickly. Prophet goes down early at the start of this fight. The Spitfire hoping to start something up. I don't know if this can be salvaged, Matt.
And something like that happens, and you lose all confidence. Especially in a fight you think is going your way. You're using some ultimates. You're spawn trapping them. everybody's getting hype, and then something like that just takes. It's tough.
Mate, I thought they picked up Giannis in the offseason because I have not seen a team show two different sides so quickly. Between two maps! Shanghai now, ride the wave straight on in, why don't you? Gesture's down already, the Spitfire trying to save him with a sound barrier. It came in after the EMP, but it's not enough to survive them. It's going to be a 3-man. EMP back from guard here, Nuss going down though, really no momentum being gained. Nongjin just having a nap. Just having a break here, happy enough.
I actually think the wildest part of that back cap was that it wasn't like, you know, a meter or two needed to go. Like, the payload needed to go a really long distance.
Yes.
But no, London holds on here. Still 2 minutes for the Dragons
on a
to
road
complete the
trip,
map.
bro.
Yeah, it's DM does earn the Graviton Surge. Bdosin switched over to Ana real quick off the spawn, so you don't have any support ultimates here.
I want stats for longest back cap. I want to see who gets that one.
Yeah.
All right, so Taylor 2 grabs. Both teams use them here. It's like stars orbiting one another, and Bdosin is actually the only casualty so far. Look at that clap back on the Earth Shatter from Gamsu. That one really is going to leave a mark on the Spitfire now. And guard can't get out. Didn't have a translocator available. Nuss also gets hacked. Oh, the payload gets home. Absolutely slaughtered.
How do they
What a Spitfire.
How do they have a map like Anubis and then just turn up and have a map like this where they complete Route 66 with 2 minutes left in the time bank?
That's astonishing to me, really. I don't know if I've seen anything like that. Very hard. We said this before, man. It's actually really hard to get a good read on the London Spitfire because of how variable their performance has been in the past. Like I'm sure there's plenty of people in the UK throwing their hands up in the air. Now, it's not all lost. It's not fire and brimstone. Or the Dragons are definitely breathing plenty of the former. There's 2 minutes on the clock in their time bank. So the Spitfire, they know they're up against that. They know they have to have a really fast first attack. But what's even going to be more important than that first attack, assuming they finish the map, which is not guaranteed, is that the second, like the overtime, they really need to completely stop the Dragons in their tracks. This is something else, man.
And you know, when London, they decide to run guard on Sombra, they usually put Fury on Zarya, and Prophet has to go back to the brig duties. But let's take a look
at this guy.
at this.
He's at the proverbial brig, and he's still paddling.
Look at
He
this.
paddles his way out of it. He's getting home. Run, Forrest. He gets there. Guard drops down to try and stop him, but it's too late. Was going to hack him. It doesn't stop him from being on the payload.
They're using ultimates up there. They have no idea what the hell.
It's like the final stage of like a horse race, and you know, Ding's got the cane out.
What I was mentioning is when London, they start to make this run through stage 1, what's really like the catalyst behind it, it's like Prophet's Zarya play. And when you put guard on Sombra and then you want to break in the line, Prophet now goes over to Brig. Fury plays the Zarya. And at least in the first half, you know, really got outplayed by DM. You know, DM with 8 Graviton Surge kills, Fury with 0, and then DM with about 2,000 more damage. So after there in the first half.
I mean, the Spitfire have had a chance to reset now. Their resolve must have been broken, shattered. Gamsu getting stunned up there, discorded quickly, but still just going down first. Not even a chance for a trade here in the Dragons. I mean, think back to King's Road. The Dragons were just unbreakable on their defense. Perhaps they've regained that quality. Coma just going ham with them boops.
Yeah.
I do like him.
So, you know, the Dragons win a few fights here. They're in great shape. So you start to build some of those ultimates so you can hold, if you lose this, right around that Big Earl's gas station. Maybe we see another point A hold here from Shanghai Dragons.
Ding lurking in the backside. I mean, look at that. 64% of the way towards his EMP. The Spitfire don't even want to mess with the Sombra here. Perhaps they just don't feel confident with it. Fair enough, I guess. Best to go back to basics after what happened. Or the drawing board has had the number of C9s, number of days since the C9 scrubbed off and on multiple times. Oh, Ding. Okay, gets laser down there. Guard able to finish him off with a whip shot. Still, Prophet can't save Gesture. His bubble wasn't on cooldown.
You know, hey, he's so charged up.
Yeah.
He's able to put down some damage there.
Tell me what's at the bottom of
Not
the
a ton of
abyss.
follow-up.
That's so brutal. The Spitfire, in all fairness, was still building up to their first, you know, grouping of ultimates. Now, they're very close to that, but the Dragons have not been forced to use ultimates of their own. It was just the transcendence in that fight that gave them a clean win. That's very efficient. You spend one ultimate, you win a fight, you're happy with that exchange, and they got, I don't know, 5 more to spend.
Yeah, but if
here.
Ding lands a big EMP here, you don't use any more ultimates here. If you're the Dragons, you know, Luffy will get closer towards that transcendence, so you use the EMP, you win a fight for free.
The Spitfire now are just facing their worst nightmare. They can't even get out of spawn against a team that they've never lost to. or a franchise perhaps never lost to is a better way of putting it. And the Dragons are winning fights very cleanly, very efficiently. The Spitfire are going to be forced to invest first in the next fight to try and gain some ground. And the Dragons are just keeping them at bay here. Koma drops in, Bdosin knocked down immediately. Gamsu, beautiful Earthshatter, and Koma was right there with the follow-up. As was Luffy, as he was getting credit for that kill. Jester tries to go for an Earthshatter here, and he only gets Luffy on the payload. He was discorded. He wasn't long for this world. Thanks, Semel. And he's down. Koma can wall right out of this one, or can he? Oh, yeah, he's good. He's good. Is he not?
Definitely not.
Yo, that guy needs to watch Free Solo. Learn a thing or two.
There's some Red Shell streams on, right? He's wall right around. So let's see now, Dig. With the EMP, you kind of need the EMP here to buy you some time. Don't have the sound barrier to come back, so.
Well, I mean, the Spitfire get a reprieve. They've got to make something happen with this now. Self-destructing over the top. And already any follow-up here. Nas, in fact, getting pinned by Gamsu. Remember, like we saw in the video earlier, if you're Ryan, choose a short charge length digestion. What are you doing, mate? Not a whole lot. You dead, son.
As you know, the grab on top of Big Earls, like, where are you getting the follow-up? If the self-destruct's not massive.
Half of the Spitfire can't even climb up there.
They can't get up.
They've got all this armor on. They're not athletic. So now, really, the Spitfire have maybe one chance, and they've already spent all their ultimates. This has completely fallen to pieces.
It's been so strong on defense for the Dragons.
I mean, I want a map 5.
They really looked great today outside of their offense on Temple of Anubis. That was really poor.
Oh, that's not good for Gesture, getting booped off from the rest of his team. He can't climb back up there unless he'd have to go around the long way. It'd take far too long to do that. So he has to play on his own. Gamsu's identified this, and Gesture gets hacked! Oh dear! The Spitfire now, it's a full-scale rout. The Dragons snapping at their heels, and no one's really able to get to the payload except for Nas. He gets hacked, so he's really not going to be able to do too much about the onslaught that Ding and Co bring. Prophet is reasonably charged up on the high ground. He goes for a desperate grab, but he's at 1 health, and then he gets cut down. That's overtime. That is an utter disgrace in the Spitfire. But conversely, the Shanghai Dragons show us one of the most impressive defensive holds to date. Very nice.
Yeah, DM pops off 42 eliminations, 13 final blows, 0 deaths there on Route 66. 12 Graviton Surge kills. Well, the Game 5 right after this quick break.
Generally speaking, ladies and gents, Overwatch is a 2-team game. This has been a 4-team series. Both teams showing very good, very ugly sides to their play. However, the most, recent team to return serve was the Spitfire, who looked pretty average on Route 66.
The map really ends when the back cap is completed by the Dragons, and Ding just kind of escorts the payload from point A towards about halfway through to point B.
How do you come back from that?
And there was just 0 life from London after that. I mean, we got the player cams line in Shanghai. They're all laughing, having a good time, and London's like, oh man, not again.
Yeah, GR and chat and go next, I think was their feeling about that one. And that's fair enough. I mean, heading on to our last map of the series, it will actually be a control map, so that may actually favor London Spitfire somewhat. But interestingly here, Ding remains in the active lineup. So we saw Geggery start the series here in that flex role. We won't be swapping back to her for this final map.
Yeah, we'll see. I believe we do have a substitution for Shanghai, so we'll figure out who that is.
Maybe he does get Yongjin out of his seat.
So
Okay, Geggery is back. Oh, interesting. So for Yongjin. Interesting. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. We don't see a lot of this particular permutation of the roster, but I like this. I kind of like what this offers. This lineup.
I mean, you leave Dingen, who's been when you're running like damage dealers, like your primary one. You also have DM still in the game, so maybe this gives you a little bit more flexibility to play some different compositions we haven't seen so far.
Well, I've seen Geggery play a completely filthy Brigitte, for example. Played that last season, and also I think it was on her stream actually. She showed some really cool tech. She was actually one of the first people that I saw, to use the shield bash to not get knocked off here. So I kind of like this now. DM Geggery's there. We're gonna have Ding in the mix. This is fun. I'm super happy about that. Feast your eyes on this one. Top hero damage per 10 minutes. So in team fights this season. VM sneaks in there at number 10, but Asalot Azaya plays.
Yeah, look at Sinatra though up at the top.
Yeah.
I mean, 18,466. Next highest 17,777.
So worth bearing in mind, this is just within team fights.
Yeah.
And obviously we've set up a context in which an algorithm in which we analyze team fights, and then there's poke and all that stuff outside of it. So I mean, the numbers are pretty close for the most part, but DM sneaks in there at number 10.
You see a lot of the top Zarya players in the league there. I know potentially your top 10 Zaryas if you're kind of making a list. And DM cracks the top 10, right behind Carpe, like 1 point of damage behind him. So Carpe, we talk about how great the player he is.
When we talk about a team fight, by the way, it's probably important to contextualize this. It's usually a situation where, it's a 6v6 fight, where both teams are committing their ultimates that they've been storing up to fight. So that doesn't include like little 1v1s that happen across the map. With the way the game's played out right now, it's much easier to identify what is a team fight and what isn't. In the past, it's maybe been a bit harder, like Widowmakers are dueling each other off to the side and stuff like that. But if you want to know more about that, also Captain Planet, our stats guy, wrote a nice article about it on OverwatchLeague.com, what constitutes a team fight, because that's kind of assumed knowledge with some of these team fight specific graphics we bring up.
And I think this one, maybe you see a little bit of less of the traditional team fighting, as Ilios will be the final map in this set. Look, London needs this series to, try and cement or, get closer towards cementing their stage 1 playoff berth. Shanghai, they can play a little bit of a spoiler here.
A lot of teams on this particular map do go for the damage deal heavy compositions. Yeah. The fact that Ding is still on the lineup here for Shanghai kind of gets me excited. Do we see that vaunted Farah play from him? Do they go for like a, triple or quad damage dealer setup for Shanghai? And I mean, it looks like a party.
I think you can test the Spitfire a little bit.
Give me Ding
because usually Birdring is like the primary hit scan player, right? He's been moved out of the lineup here for Guard. Guard, we've really just seen Brigitte in Sombra.
Come on, give me some damage dealers. Send me like a kid in a toy store. Let's go. Right, let's go. Out of the gates. The Shanghai Dragons will be playing Farah Mercy, often referred to as Pharmacy, with DM on the Widowmaker. I mean, the tales of this man's prowess on the Widow have traveled far and wide.
And this challenges Guard. Like I mentioned, we have not really seen him play a ton of heroes outside of Brigitte.
Oh dear!
Sombra, early pick off there, onto Nuss.
DM seizing the chance to go for Nuss there. Just a shield a little bit low. We probably can replace that one. Bdosin goes down. I mean, Shanghai are leveraging some of their most powerful elements on this map. Geggery on the Diva. Ding on the Farah. I love the Spitfire said, no, I want to play anymore. They pulled out their peripherals. I can already see it behind me. They picked out their PCs. They're leaving the arena. They don't want to play anymore.
No, that's not true.
No,
I think it was something with Geggery's computer.
Yes. So that's getting sorted out. It often happens as well when players are getting subbed in and out. Geggery might not be sitting in a seat that she's used to sitting in.
No, it's not.
Because she's being subbed out in place of Yongjin. So that also poses a specific challenge to players as well, because players sit in specific orders so they can watch one another. So, I mean, I'm sure she's fine. She's playing Diva. She's out there just wrecking heads, but something to keep in mind. The Spitfire switch off the Orisa composition to a Winston, but still have Guard. No, okay. I wonder what they're going to do. They're going to switch Guard to the Tracer here, and okay, Mercy.
But, yeah, I was like, that's what surprised me here is you have the Mercy in play. So usually you would see Mercy with like a Farah or a Widowmaker, but you have Mercy in a composition with like Diva, Winston, Tracer.
Oh God,
kind of odd.
Gets his toes lit on fire by a rocket there. Luffy down early, so Prop finds the pick. Wasn't a headshot, but I mean, easy enough to find that kill. Luffy's resurrected. Yeah, that's what Mercy does. Mercy's a hero in Overwatch that brings people back to life. It's quite exciting. She's like an angel, but not. She's Swiss. I guess that's the same thing. But I should take it down by DM though.
London
Pressured
takes the
by
point.
Gesture. Oh, Gesture's in deep trouble. Talk about endangered species. Guard now trying to keep the point contested. Ding going down to Prophet. So Hanzo does find that airborne pick on Ding and follows up with a Dragon Strike. This is probably just to force the Dragons back into that left corner of the map. And Bdosin goes down. The Dragons don't have control of the point right now. And that's cheeky. Prophet straight through the noggin of DM as he tries to challenge close up. Ding just cruising in.
And when London takes the point back, this is going to force the Dragons to try and invest some ults to get back into it.
Oh! Luffy goes down to the Gesture. Gamsu does have his Primal Rage right now. He's trying to challenge Prophet down with it, but Nuss is there very quickly with a bandage or some healing or a Kadusha staff. I mean, the last one's probably much more specific. Luffy's brought back. The Dragons are working here with the barrage, but how do they set it up? They don't have a Zarya really to give Ding that protection. He's going to have to be very sneaky with it.
See how difficult it is to hit these Hanzo shots at range. He looks one way, he's got the Pharah, the other way.
Oh, there it is! Bdosin goes down. He had the Transcendence for the London Spitfire. Now they lack that defensive ultimate they were going to use to hold on to this point. The Dragons need to capitalize, though. They need to chase for more, and there he goes. Ding trades out. Bdosin is brought back to life, but taken down again by the barrage. Gamsu trying to find Nass. Geggery, great little pincer. Geggery recognized their focus was on the Mercy, and she flits around the left-hand side to find the kill. The Dragons still don't have control of the point, though. That's the issue. They need to shift Gesture, and a big, meaty headshot like that from DM is a good way to start it off. Gesture goes Primal Rage. A lot more health, a lot more mobility, and he's going to be forcing DM out of that little comfy position that he had. The Dragons still don't have control of the point.
It's that one scrappy fight where London just stays on the point and takes it back that's made the difference here.
Oh, that was so nasty! That was the setup from DM, of course. He did give his team infrasights. We could see through walls. He knew when
London's
Prophet was going to
still in
peek around the
control.
corner. Gesture obviously was a pillar in that fight. They still have the point. 2%. The Dragons have to get back in touch. Geggery does get there for a brief moment. Triggers overtime. Over the top of the fight is D and Coma. Trying to get that damage down, but Guard just drops a pulse bomb and then recalls. The whole of the Spitfire is so healthy right now. Geggery gets demeched and Coma's out. Now the Dragons are running out of options in a huge way. London have always had problems with map 5s in the past, but this one's looking pretty good. Guard take it down by a mini diva. Geggery just goes full beast mode there and gets rid of the Tracer. And now the Dragons are coming back into the point. This is absolutely nutty. Prophet tried to go to the 76 to return to the fight. The Dragons stay alive. What on earth?
They barely get back. Prophet goes back and he'll play Hanzo now. So all you have to work with here for London is your Valkyrie. Now with the way this point works though on Well, you can stall it out for a very long time here. If you're the Dragons, you have both support ults, you have nothing to worry about. Well, maybe now as Ding gets taken out of the sky there by Prophet.
Not an easy shot to hit. Hanzo's arrows drop over distance, so you really have to lead these shots. Not that much, bear in mind, but enough. So the Spitfire moving back to try and control the point. Gesture currently in Primal Rage. He's trying to chase down Ding Prophet with a rapid fire. Doesn't find the kill, and now he's deep in enemy territory. Fortunately, Nuss followed him in to keep him held up. Oh, DM's not in a good spot right now. Guard is able to accost him and remove him. Good shot from Prophet. Ding was low already, and now the Spitfire can take control. Oh! Ouch! Coma. Well, heads will roll. If Prophet will have his way, Gamsu able to keep this one alive. He's sitting inside his bubble. He's forced off of the point. He'll have to touch again, or someone else will. There's a Tracy here for DM. He'll be able to keep that overtime going, for the time being at least. Guard went low to a rocket splash damage, but DM eventually gets caught up. He runs face first into one of Bdosin's orbs of destruction, and round one goes to the Spitfire. That's been a back and forth affair if I've ever seen it.
And Luffy has the Transcendence, and he has it for a very long time there at the end, but never pops it. And it looked like there was an opportunity to use it to keep Coma alive as he was going for a resurrection, but does not use the ultimate, doesn't get a use of it at all. So, you know, as we move to the next point, we'll see a quick replay here of Prophet landing one of these shots. Let's see,
that is very low
filthy.
range. Well,
that is so difficult.
yeah, should have put an apple on your head, Ding. It's your own fault, really.
So now when we move on the Lighthouse here, if the Dragons can win this, Ruins would be the next point. And who's going to play Widowmaker for London if DM is still going to play Widow?
Birdring's out there warming the bench. He's riding the pine. He just checking his fingernails.
So they swap out the Zenyatta here in favor of Moira for some extra just raw sustain.
Bdosin. Moira obviously can provide a lot of healing, even at longer ranges, but generally she wants to play close to her team. And that's all the Spitfire do. They move forward in like a death ball. It's like a meatball, I guess you could say. A huge amount of healing available in very close proximity, but outside of that, there's not a lot. That's why Gesture wants to play the Reinhardt here and stick close. Now, Ding wants the Spitfire to play together because he's doing splash damage with these rockets. Good move here by Fury to chase him down, but Ding's getting killed. That was a biotic. That was the healing from Coma being given to him there. And now the barrage. He doesn't get any kills, but it's enough for Gregory to move in, and she can finish the job. She fights 2, and Ding's back in the fight with a Resurrect.
And Bdosin trying to use the Coalescence there. Now that he can get with it. And that's exactly what Shanghai wanted. They wanted London to play the point, just farm some of that charge with the rockets.
Just like they drew it up. Bdosin, I know you. Everyone wants to be like Goku sometimes, bro, but...
All right, so this is it. Now we get to see Guard playing Widowmaker as Prophet will go over to Tracer. Prophet's Tracer was so strong last year. One of the better ones in the league in first season. Gesture trying to turn his head there. Doesn't want to get headshot.
Playing forward. DM obviously with that infra sight can kind of play more aggressively, knowing where the enemy team. He can't really get taken by surprise. But Coma, that's not an easy shot to hit, should I say.
Had to be a jump shot over the wall.
Yeah, Coma just got his head taken right off there. Mercy's hitbox is small. It's actually kind of hard to hit her, even if you're a sharp one like the Guard is. We were waiting to see more of Guard's hero pool, by the way. Oh, it won't matter. Ding turns him into a pool. Couple rockets connecting now, and a Transcendence being triggered here by Luffy. Wants to go forward. Nuss is down, so the Dragons will remain kings of the castle for now.
And you use that Transcendence there. I mean, it's not the ideal use, right? You would like to have it, maybe like a big team fight goes down. You don't have like a big combo though here for the London Spitfire. Like self-destruct Graviton Surge combo. Not even like a pulse bomb with a grab. So you use that. You also realize that Bdosin had switched over to Zenyatta after playing Moira for a bit. So you don't think his ultimate is that high yet.
Spitfire won the inaugural season grand final with a relatively similar comp. A lot of Tracer from Prophet. Guard finds Luffy. That's the first pick. And that's plenty for the Spitfire to work with now. With Dim having gone down. Yeah, there were 2 kills. One will be resurrected, but there's no Widowmaker left for the Dragons. Guard deals with the aggression of Gamsu. The Spitfire still haven't contested the point, though. They are going to move to it now. They've given the Dragons enough percentage, though, such that if the Dragons win the next fight, the Spitfire won't have time to come back. London are really trying to lock this one up here and now.
Yeah, but London is stock full of ultimates, though. When you get those picks with the Widowmaker, and you don't have to use any ultimates, I mean, look, they have all 6 coming in the next fight.
But are they super impactful? They're not like really big combo pieces.
Well,
right?
Infrasight buys you time. So Infrasight used by DM. Now it's going to be used by Guard in return. So everybody can see where everybody's at here on the map.
Oh, Nuss! Well, we went for the Valkyrie, got taken down by Ding, and then Gesture falls. It's a 2-for-2 trade, though, and 2 damage dealers to take it down. Prophet the double bomb on 2 supports. There's a heck of a lot going on right now. No, not used to seeing so many damage dealers, but that's what the games look like. The end result is that the Spitfire maintain control here, but Fury needs to stay alive in the middle of the map. The Dragons are moving to the point. This is where it gets a little bit scary for the London Spitfire. They're still trying to regroup right now, and the Dragons have full numbers. DM's getting pressured down by Gesture. He's able to get away, though, or is he? No! Gesture chases him down with the Primal Rage, and now he's trying to get sky high. He doesn't quite find the furrow, though. A Guard falls in the meantime. The Spitfire don't quite have the point back yet. The Dragons are still in control, and now a Transcendence to keep them going through. Self-destruct, doesn't find too much on the outside there. Gregory hoping for more, doesn't get it. Double biotic grenade later on the Shanghai Dragons, and Gesture sitting on the point with a Discord Orb. He is very vulnerable right now, and Coma's safely healing off on that right-hand side. The Dragons got everything they need and more, and we get a map 3 on Ilios. It's going all the way, Matthew.
And now, do we see Guard try and take this Widowmaker battle against DM in our final point here of this series? Now, Guard was able to hit a few shots there on that point. Or do we see both teams option to the 3-3 match?
What can you imagine? Well, look, it's not out of the realm of possibility here, and it might be an interesting curveball to throw. Remember, if you win the first fight with a 3-3 composition, you're way ahead. You can really snowball. Let's have a look at Prophet here. So Ding would have been an easy target. No, he's going to sink the Mercy. She goes for a little rig.
He flies right up.
That happens. We see this happen all the time. Mercy's midway through using her Guardian Angel to jump to a teammate. She's got a bomb on her.
We've seen that before with Winston's. They'll jump into the sky and blow up a far Mercy combo.
Never forget XQC. That was a great moment. Maybe not for him, but it was funny. I'm sure he's made peace with it. So Luffy on the Zenyatta here in the back line. And yeah, both teams opt into pretty much 3-3 here. Both with the, well, one with the Winston, one with the Reinhardt. So Gesture wants his team to play close by and then repel Coma pretty quickly. That's a nasty first pick to take, and Bdosin now finds that second pick.
Yeah, you lose to Lucio, you use all the speed to be able to disengage or just go back, refight that. And as soon as London, when they have been able to get Coma early, they push right away after that.
The London Spitfire's playoff hopes are hanging in the balance right now. They must get a win here against the Dragons to even have a chance. And it all comes down, of course, this one round here on Ruin. They have to pull out all the stops. They're off to a good start. Playing a triple tank, triple support composition and winning the first fight is a great omen. It potentially allows you to snowball. And speaking of balls, Luffy just had one. Take his noggin clean off.
Bdosin able to pick him up at range. Bdosin with the finish there on the Gamsu. As you see, now Bdosin's built his way up towards a Transcendence rather quickly. These early picks off are huge.
Transcendence. Valuable for Bdosin here. 40%. And ticking for the Spitfire. The Dragons need to come up with an answer, and soon. Likely it's going to have something to do with DM's Graviton Surge here. In they go. Transcendence here from Bdosin. And now the Dragons trying to back up a little bit more as much as they can. Again, they need to be getting onto this point here. That's the main thing. They start the capture here. The Spitfire don't want to give this one away. They want to be accruing capture percentage this whole fight, but they do lose it. The Dragons now in the driver's seat. Gamsu goes down though. Spitfire in numbers with the Graviton Surge laid down. Gregory and DM are going to be struggling here, and the Spitfire let the Dragons have a taste of glory and then snatch it back away from them.
Yeah, they give up the positioning on the point for a quick second, but London, they use their Graviton Surge, connect with 3 players, take them out. So now Shanghai, you'll have Sound Barrier, you'll have an Earth Shatter. Let's see, Gamsu is landing some big shatters on King's Row. You need one now.
There it is, Earth Shatter attempted. Not quite successful for Jess. She gets stunned up in the meantime, but Ding is still brought down by Prophet. So the Dragons, with 5 players.
This reminds me of Anubis though, and they kept pushing through that side and it didn't work.
They're on the wrong side of the map now. The fact is,
too much
when Ding tries to return to his team, he's going to be separated. London are going to be standing in between him and the rest of the Dragons, and there's just not enough time. 92% now on the ticker. Gregory back in the mech. They need the extra durability. The Dragons have to go now. Gamsu, an Earth Shatter here would really help them out. Transcendence is there for Luffy, who is so low currently. Gamsu gets stunned up, but he didn't have his Earth Shatter interrupted and hence taken away. He's forced to step back. Here's the Graviton Surge now for the Spitfire. What can they do with it? Gesture knocked to the ground. Self-destruct, no combo there. Gamsu takes guard. That's what the Dragons were looking for here. Gesture going down now, and it's just Luffy left on the point. At the 11th hour, the Dragons strike back to stay in this match.
It starts off pretty poor for the Dragons as Gregory uses self-destruct to re-mech, but they use Sound Barrier at the same time. They're trying to get it onto her before she actually loses the mech to hold on to self-destruct. That doesn't work out. Now you get DM set up on the high ground here. Try and build up towards another Graviton Surge. As you know, these points, they go 99 to something else, whether it's like 30, 40, but they can get to 99, 99 pretty quick. It'll be rally here for Ding. Buy some armor.
Mental stamina's got to be an absolute premium here. So Spitfire be stressing. They know they can't rush this. They have to come in when their time is right, when they have those ultimates ready to go. Just an Earth Shatter for Gesture might not be enough to get the job done. Gesture tries to go for a flanking shuttle. They get Demon. If they can get rid of the Zarya, that's huge! They get him, but Gesture has to give up his life in the process. Both teams losing a large source of their damage now. Earth Shatter, Gamsu, it gets blocked up. Now a Sound Barrier for the London Spitfire are going to make them far more interested in brawling this fight out. The Dragons are forced back. The self-destruct doesn't find anything. Gregory goes down. She couldn't get back in her mech. Fury is desuited. Where's the follow-up on this Graviton Surge? The Transcendence staves off all the damage the Spitfire try and send into that mass. Gamsu gets discorded, but the Sound Barrier is going to make him nice and durable. And now it's going to be a Transcendence here as the Spitfire try and push back. But Nass's charge pinned up against the wall. The Transcendence from Bdosin doesn't have to keep him alive. Both brigades are traded out here. 85% on the clock for the Shanghai Dragons, and the Spitfire are in disarray.
And with the way this fight's going, with players still lingering around here for London, this very well may be the last fight. It's a big grab there that comes in from DM. You just have Nass being able to get on the point.
Only a couple players and just the one left. Nas was the last chance for the Spitfire. There's no way they're getting to this point. A celebratory Earth Shatter from Gamsu. And in map 5, the Dragons take it. Roller coaster that is the Shanghai Dragons continues to roll on. Not only getting an important victory here, if for bragging rights nothing else, they may have prevented the Spitfire from sneaking into the Stage 1 playoffs. Way to play spoiler, Matthew.
Oh, what a win for the Dragons. What a way to end their Stage 1. London, one of the hottest teams in the league and not lost since week 1. They end up losing a crushing game 5 here. And I really think it's when, Ding backcaps the card there on Route 66. London is just not able to recover since then.
Map 5s were always kind of known as a bit of a bogey for the London Spitfire if you were a fan in our inaugural season. But now, in order to make the playoffs, the Spitfire must beat Seoul. And that's not even taking into account map differentials, which will come into effect if there are any tiebreakers. It really looked like the spirit, the back, the resolve of the Spitfire was broken heavily in Route 66, and they couldn't quite climb back.
And it's a big win for the Dragons as, they'll be able to retool as they go into Stage 2. It's a big win, a confidence booster, shows they can contend with the best. Beating our champions from last year today.
And this is important data for them going forward. Like you said, if they are looking to retool. Here's what the standings look like now. The Spitfire slide to 10th at 3 wins and 3 losses with a -1 map differential. Now we know the Dragons are numerically